A few days ago, I showed you guys my garlic harvest and how I was going to be showing you guys how I grew it. Or at least how I'm going to be growing garlic this year. In fact, we grow garlic in ground as well as in containers. Garlic that grows in ground, I kind of let happen naturally. As you can see, there's some bulblets around that are starting to form roots. Eventually, the rain will wash these guys down into the soil. These patches of garlic will group out once again. We did harvest a ton from this area. They do tend to be smaller than the ones that we grow in containers because the soil kind of compacts them a bit. But with more lofty soil, you can get them to get a lot bigger. So if I wanted to, I can amend this soil and help the garlic group out a bit better. Also, if you don't kind of split them up, they'll grow closely together and you won't have bigger cloves. So I'm gonna bring these to the back. These are just some of the ones that we harvested. We also have two new varieties. They're not in here. I'll show you guys them in a second. The new varieties are the Montana as well as the Music variety. We'll place these guys inside this container here, which in this container is a mix of pretty much potting soil, some compost, and some soil building conditioner that's in every single container. We also added or amended it with some bulb tone towards the top of the actual surface here. If you don't have bulb tone, you can also use bone meal. I have a little bit left. I might just add in some of this just for added. First thing you would do is actually separate the cloves themselves. And because garlic is super simple and super easy to grow, just push it down to like your second knuckle, and or you see right there, down to the knuckle, and that's just around deep enough. You also want to space them around 5 inches apart, 5 to 6 inches at least, and that'd be fine. This gives them space to kind of really grow and spread the roots out, you know? One thing I would mention is always pick the largest cloves to plant. In this case, they were all around the same size, so we're placing all of them. And I'll show you a better example of that in just a moment. So in this basket, these are all garlic that I harvested from this year. You can see that there's some big differences between some of them. Like this one's relatively large. You can actually see the large varieties here. But these are all hardneck varieties, which the hardneck, you can see it's pretty stiff to the push. So hardneck has pretty much a hard neck, kind of self-explanatory. And the soft neck, although this isn't the greatest example, but you see it's small, it has a soft neck. So we're picking the largest between the soft necks and the largest between the hard necks. So maybe these for the hard neck, because as you can see, this hard neck variety is obviously smaller than the other one here. So when you decide to place your largest sets, you kind of perpetuate growing the largest cloves. So if you plant big, you harvest big, essentially. Now, I did want to show you guys an example of what's in the middle of a hardneck variety. You can see this is a pretty hard stem here. That's the hardneck variety. And then this is a softneck variety. There's nothing there in the middle. So you can kind of see the difference here. Nothing in the middle, something here. And when separating your cloves, make sure you leave as much of the skin intact as possible. Don't try and remove all the skin because you can end up rotting the actual clove. So part of that pink section is actually protecting the clove inside as well as the outer shell here. What it does is protects the clove from too much moisture. By the way, when you break apart your cloves or your actual garlic, you may notice that, again, some of the cloves are smaller than others. So same rule, you do want to place the largest of the cloves in ground rather than the smallest ones. So separate them out. Like this one is far smaller than the one here. So we're not going to place that in ground. One thing I'll note is that it's really obvious to tell which way is the top of the actual bulb and which one is the base. You see the base has kind of like this root section down here, and then the top is pointy and doesn't have roots at the top. So this is the direction you would place it in ground. You place it, the root section at the base, the pointy section at the highest portion of the soil. And again, you do want it to be around a knuckles length deep, and then cover all the holes. I've never really noticed anything dig up garlic because of the pungent smell, and it's probably the least attractive bulb to critters, is what I found. So I split up some of the garlic again, and again you can see just how apparent some of these are. This is very small, these are larger. This is a different clove, but these are larger than the ones up here. So we're going to place the largest to the ground rather than the smallest. And if you have extra cloves left over from the project, you might want to use those first because they won't store as long as the ones that still have the sheath around them. So use up the cloves first, then go back to using your garlic bulbs themselves. But here's what the containers look like, and I will show you guys once we get to harvesting time, how to harvest them or know when to harvest them, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.